I could sit beside Fidel Castro while he cooked dinner for us one night, and he's speaking English. And, we're having a great time. I'm just, we're all over Europe, the Middle East. I mean, I've been, and I kept saying, why? What can I do? It's like you're called to these spots. What can you do with it?
Beverley, what makes you willing to share your truth now in this documentary? Why is it that you're able to do that now? And I believe you may have answered that earlier, but let's go back to that.
No, I'm glad thank you for asking me that, because I grew up as the second daughter of parents, Esmond and Eric Anderson. My mother was a full-time housewife. She wanted to be a surgeon, but she got married against her parents' wishes, and she devoted her entire life to her children. Now, that had a good side and a bad side, because when I was growing up, punishment was sometimes very harsh, and she was very clear with the punishment. But from her point of view, she would have seen it as bringing us up to withstand this world, particularly because the daughter, she had a son later on, but 3 daughters. And I had a conversation with her when she was in her 90s, because she died at 95, 96, and asked her to forgive me for all the bad thoughts I had about her, and how I interpreted what she was doing, and so on and so forth. And she said, what are you talking about? She said, you were the dark one and the black one in the family, like your father. She was highbrow. And I know you're going to catch hell in Jamaica, so I have to bring you up to be strong. And sometimes when I look back and see some of the situations I was in, I say, my God, where did that courage come from with all the criticism? And I think it came from both parents, because Daddy sort of gave in to her. So that's where I'm coming from, Rollington Town. I grew up, I became a broadcast journalist. And in those days, I think maybe Neville Willoughby and I went to just say it, and myself were like, people were getting the most fan mail, right? I was mentored by people like Leonie Forbes at the general manager level. I was so privileged. I had Wycliffe Bennett. I had Merrick Needham. What can I tell you? You had
the best of the best.
I had the best of the best. You make one mistake reading the news, and one of them, you just look up from the camera and you see them appear. What the hell you think you are doing? Okay. So, it was really, they really had us, they wanted us to be the best. So I was privileged in that area. And there are other things I can mention. Then I meet this man, Michael Manley. I grew up PNP. My father kept it silent, but he grew his daughters in within the concept of integrity, because Norman Manley, especially in the 40s and 50s, maybe even the 60s, was known as the man of integrity. And he wanted all of us to look at Norman Manley to see what kind of life we could be capable of. A man, but a man of integrity. And we have all taken on the integrity mantra, let me tell you. And so, because to cut it short, I was placed in these amazing places, spaces. I traveled all over the world with Michael. I could sit beside Fidel Castro while he cooked dinner for us one night, and he's speaking English. And, we're having a great time. I'm just, all over Europe, the Middle East. I've been, and I kept saying, why? What can I do? it's like you're called to these spots. What can you do with it? You know, you can do a little frilly thing, or you can say, like when I went to Mexico, I remember Sistering Theatre Collective needed a bus, and we just couldn't find a way to do the bus. And when I had talks with the first lady there at the time, I said, could you make that possible for us? And she did. So it's like all the time I'm sitting there, maybe drinking a glass of wine, listening to all the whatever. I'm thinking, what can I get for Jamaica out of this? So having said that, I want to, after Joel Paul, who is my producer, young woman extraordinaire.
I was about to ask you about her and why you went to this young group of producers and directors under age 30 or 30 and under.
You see, Joel, it's hard to say no because she has I don't know what it is. I hope she's finished with me now, by the way, but I don't think so. I said, Joel, it hasn't ever even occurred to me that I should do a documentary. I did a book and I may write another book, a documentary. And she just kept at it. And then she was supported by others in the hybrid family. Because, you know, she's family, you know.
Joel is family as well?
Let me tell you how she's family. See if you can understand this now. DK's second marriage was to Grace Paul. Grace Paul, because she was married before. So she had two sons, Nevada and Sheldon. Sheldon is Joel's father. And in the Duncan family, you know, God's wide as it can. Everybody is family, biological or not. So she's family. And then she said to me, I think my age group want to know more about you. They really want to, you know, be able to have some conversations about you, not just what their parents may have told them, but they really want, you know, and that's how she convinced me. And this is why I started out the way I started out, because I have learned so many lessons since, well, in the last 2 years, but certainly in the last decade or so, about how a human being, once you see yourself as a child of God, not a poor, miserable sinner, a child of God, right? And when you can remember who you are, then you manifest in a particular kind of way. Hence my concept of, not my concept, hence my emphasis on authenticity, being true to who you are as a child of God. Taking responsibility, you're going to make mistakes. Don't blame yourself, and certainly don't blame anybody else. Take responsibility means the facts are that happened. And I'm going to do everything so it never happens again. But not to blame Janet or blame Joel. Just take responsibility, integrity, which I mentioned before, but not only integrity in terms of money issues, fraud and honesty, although those are important, but integrity more in terms of what works and what doesn't work. When something in my life is not working, can I remember that as a child of God, I have this powerful thing of integrity, and I can say, how can it work? It's not working. So I don't keep doing it over and again. And as it is fashionable to say, getting the same results, because I'm going to get the same results. So because for the last 20 years or so, I have been involved with that kind of spiritual healing and teaching, I am now ready for the documentary, because nothing happens by coincidence. It is coming out, and it's the reason why it's coming out. And
how did you feel being interviewed by all these young people?
It was wonderful.
Talk to me about that experience.
You know what was wonderful about it? And this is why another Edna Manley, she says, as you go older, make sure you have young people around you. Let me tell you something. They don't have the experiences we had, and that has its strength and weakness. But to do the documentary, it was fabulous because nobody was judging me. As a matter of fact, to my shock, everybody was lifting me up. And being this may sound a little bossy, but that's how it was. They were, when they came into the house, they were so happy to see me. I was happy to see them. They just were not judging me. And when judgment is absent, the whole of that space is given up for love. And it's fabulous. I was so loved by them. And we'd have something to drink after and chat a little more. And they always wanted more. Come on, Aster Joel, why don't you tell me about so and so? I told her I would say 90%, maybe even 95.
She was convincing.
What? Oh, more than convincing. She, by the way, she has a long way to go, I can tell you.
She has a what?
She has a long way to go. She did this dancehall documentary. You know about it?
No.
You have to sell it to Janet.
I really don't know enough about Joelle.
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna get her.
A little bit of what I've seen from what she has done with what you are coming out with, or she's coming out with, is enough to let me know that this is a young powerhouse and that we should all be watching Joelle.
Watch and support. She has my full support. Full support.
Who is the target market for this one? Who are you trying to reach in this document?
You have been watching West Side JA. We'll be right back.
All memorable moments include delicious food. Good food can transform the ordinary into extraordinary. We welcome more good times together, more memories we won't forget.
Rainforests always I make delicious moments.
Who is the target market for this one? Who are you trying to reach in this document?
And maybe you should ask Joy, but my understanding is young people.
Young
people, even people who didn't experience the 70s, or when they hear about it is what they read or what their parents told them, at the height of what was really like a civil war. The Cold War internationally, civil war locally. So, it's hard to tell the truth in those circumstances. So stuff is passed on. And I think this is for young people who are open-minded, many of them are, and who just want to hear maybe what you could call another side. Young people whose parents had to run away on one of the 5 trips a day to Miami. Thank you. The one that poor Michael had to put up with for a long time. It was taken completely out of context. But young people who had to pack up and go with their parents, not because they had to go.
And lose them, and those families lost so much because they sold their properties so cheaply and ended up not getting better lives overseas.
And people have learned from that because I don't know where you'd run to right now. If you find out, you could tell me.
No, I don't know that there's anywhere to run to.
I don't think so. Certainly not Sri Lanka.
Keep up with the documentary, and when will it be released? Where it will be released?
Only Joel can tell you that because I'm not sure myself that I have not really involved myself in anything other than appearing when they want to do a shoot and deciding with her what dress I'm wearing, what am I saying, what are the questions. And I was very 100% open to them in terms of that. But I haven't taken any interest in the launch because that's a young people thing, because my launch immediately goes back to like press conference. Make sure the clean is there.
when is the launch, Joel?
Okay, so July 31st, Sunday at 3 p.m.
Sunday, July 31st.
We're releasing the first episode. And so every Sunday after that, up until August 21st, we'll release the next episode. So there are 4 episodes, the docu-series.
And how can we watch it? Where?
And it will be released on YouTube on the channel Adtelligent TV.
Okay.
Is
So do we have to pay to watch it?
No, it's free. It's free education and entertainment.
Okay. All right. Fine. Bev, I'm back with you. How did your media experience help you to navigate the politics of the time? Being the wife of a prime minister in such a turbulent time, because now I'm understanding more that you have spoken about this in the documentary. So I'm curious to find out that as a media person and your media experience, how did it help you to navigate that period?
I didn't know I was being prepared for that life, but the media experience was just awesome in terms of the preparation. You know, Janet, that if you are an interviewer, there are certain things you have to do before the interview. Mm-hmm. Preparation, research, all of that became a way of life for me. And later on with the Breakfast Club, it was almost 90% research and building relationships. Because when you're doing television, you're working, we didn't use the word team at the time, but we're working as a unit, a team of people. Radio is a little different because you could be alone behind the microphone. But working in television really taught me how to build relationships with people of all kinds, whether it was a celebrity you were interviewing, or it was the person behind the camera, because they could make you look good or not good. So it suited you. And we used to have social occasions, we'd drive young, so we'd all drive. My parents were in Port Antonio. I'd close the station at midnight and have the pillowcase of clothes in the back and drive straight to Port Antonio. I'm just with some other people in the car. So if I was to sum it up, I'd say it taught me how to build relationships, which is something I want to stress, because I think we are here on this part of our journey, because it's not the last part, not for me anyway. I mean, even when I make my transition, I know other things are going to be going on. So building relationships is part of the reason we are here. Jamaica is not effective right now at building relationships. We're going through a phase, and I'm calling it a phase because I still see Jamaica as paradise. That and I'm not ignoring the horrible things that happen, but and it has made me watch the news, so I have to be informed. It's almost like an OCD thing with me now. It's like an obsession. I know that I have to watch this news, and then I watch this one. I have about 3 of them that I watch throughout the 24-hour cycle. Then I have the computer, so I can, if I hear something like what was happening, I mentioned Sri Lanka again, what was happening in the British Parliament, what was happening with Boris Johnson, and I want to learn more, I just know where to go for it. It's like a hunger. So that was great from the point of view of being in broadcast journalism. And as I said, just being able, even if you're coming on, and I don't want to interview you, but I have to do it. I find a way to get. I remember Eddie Siaga used to say that at the end of every Breakfast Club interview, he always wanted to come off quick because Beverley is going to ask me a question that I don't want to answer. And it wasn't until he said it, that I thought about it. And I said, yes. We thank him and everything. Hold up, Mr. Siaga, hold on 1 minute. And he just said it. He articulated it. He said it to me. I think he may have even said it on air. But and that was in broadcasting. So when I met people, I keep saying not First Lady, because First Lady is really the Queen.
The Queen, and that would be the Governor General's wife.
The Queen's wife.
Right, the Governor General's wife, rather.
Thank you.
In Jamaica would be the First Lady.
Yes, First Lady. So the Prime Minister's wife is the Prime Minister's wife.
Right.
So the relationship thing that broadcasting taught me, the thing about just not knowing what the day would bring, I would get up as a broadcaster and think I'm going to do A, B, and C. Then you have breaking news, everything changed.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, in a car traveling to the grid from, you know, although I was never in the newsroom, but the programs I was doing were very news related.
They
So
were current
yeah,
affairs. They were. They were.
a wonderful preparation. And nothing, when I became Michael's wife, nothing really frightened me in terms of, you know, Beverly, you have to meet so and so today, or you have to go to so and so. And when you arrive in Russia, because we did do a trip to what was then the Soviet Union, you know, you just prepared yourself. It's a wonderful question. I'm glad I had an opportunity to answer it. But I want to really stress relationships.
Mhm. Building of relationships.
Oh, and you see, go back to what I was telling you about my whole process of what we call the journey of transformation.
Mhm.
That's why we deal with ourselves first. You know, you look at this, you look inside of you and see, what is it that's driving me? What made me bad talk somebody on the road? You know, where was that coming from? Why am I happy to be number two, which was my case?
Mhm.
Was, accent on was, took a long time. But why was it that I always was happy to be number two and support number one? And I was satisfied. So you look at all those things, where am I satisfied? And if I was not, where else could I be? So once you do that, you know, have something to give to the other person. And then it multiplies. Joan Duncan used to say, I want to live a life where everybody I'm in touch with leaves the conversation lifted up.
Legacy, rich legacy. Final question, Beverly.
Yes.
What is the most proud of in terms, what are you most proud of in terms of Jamaica's achievements since independence? And what is your greatest disappointment?
You have been watching West Side JA. We'll be right back.
What are you most proud of in terms of Jamaica's achievements since independence? And what is your greatest disappointment?
Let me start with the disappointment. And in my kind of where I am now in life, I don't deal with disappointments, but where I think we could, if we were stronger in that area, it could make a big difference, could make a big difference to Jamaica, is not knowing who we are. The socialization from 300 years of unbroken British rule, slavery, that socialization, that mindset was put in our heads. It's like you open it and put it in, that we are still reacting to it and still being held back because of it. I can do this, I can't do that. So if something happens and you don't immediately look and say, They said Jeff Bezos was asked a question, some question earlier. And his wife, I think it was a quote from his wife, she said, he never thought like everybody else. She had to learn how to listen to him. He just never thought like anybody else. And we have people right here in Jamaica now who are thinking into the vision, into the future. You know, we use up very little of our mind space, as you know, whether you are Einstein, whoever you are. Very, very small percentage. And the whole of the rest is lying there. So you have people who can look and envision. You have to say, how did you do this? Because they could see a big picture, which I would say the majority of us can't. But you see, when you train, when you know the mindset is there to stop you, the American backyard thing, that's where we are, you know. That's not where we are. We are much bigger than that. So I would like to see conversations taking place that could, with the school curriculum, with the teachers, everybody, that can, and that's part of what I do now, Conversations for Greatness, which is a JD, JMMB program. in the schools.
About achievements, what have
Just,
you been most proud of? Jamaica's achievements in the last 60 years.
you know, I heard a politician recently who said he's going to put Jamaica on the map. Jamaica is on the map. He meant the world map. I didn't know we're on a map. We're a small, relatively small, developing country. Notice I didn't say third world. Developing country. We're on the map. You can't go anywhere, I would say, in the world, and you don't find a Jamaica and a Jamaican who is doing good, who is doing something to build the country. After the First World War, the Second World War, when Britain needed help to rebuild, they sent for us. That's the Windrush generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the time has come for us to really understand our history, not to keep us there, but to be able to know what really happened to us and take the shame away from it. And what I mean by that is with specific examples, like what was it like for a slave woman when her children were dragged away from her, when crossing the Atlantic, she had to make a choice to throw the child over. What it was like for the man in her life when he was taken away from her. We talk about why we can't build family because we don't even understand the first thing they did was break up the African concept of family. If we could just know those things in the curriculum, not to hold us back, but to say, when the Prime Minister of Britain, Cameron, came and said, move on, we can't move on. You know why? Because those atrocities are not really known to us. When somebody's a slave owner said we don't have to cut the heads off anymore and hang it up on a peg, just deal with the mind. And they'll be always from generation to generation. That's what we're experiencing. Going to hide things under the table. We don't like to talk about things.
You talk about that, Bev, and I knew I said that was the last question, but what advice then would you give to young women today about balancing family, career, and social activism?
I wonder if I can give them any advice because they're doing it, you know. They are doing it. They are doing it right in my family, my hybrid family. When I think of like Natasha, she has choices I didn't have. And my generation worked. So one of the reasons we work so hard with women is for women to enlarge their choices. We didn't see it that way, but I'm seeing women now, women like Imani, I'm sure I'm calling her name. She's doing everything. And I'm saying, take some time, take a break. Of course, she's not listening. She's just doing it. And what is good is that if you have to go back to the concept of it takes a village. Africa again, it takes a village. You alone, especially if you're a single mother, can't do it. If you live in London like my daughter, maybe you can afford to employ a nanny. You cannot do it on your own and have a group of friends who will take the children sometimes, you know, or they go away on holiday together. But I see women doing extraordinary things. In the 70s, women never drove trucks, buses. Women were, one or two may have been in the police force. You know what? When I watch news at night, I'm seeing the person in charge and I'm seeing a woman. Women are just doing extraordinary things. I don't know what else it is there for us to do. We're climbing, we're doing everything that a man is doing. Let me put it that way. No, my advice, and I don't even want to call it advice, but I would share with the younger generation. First of all, start with who you are. Know who you are. Know who you are. And Jamaica is largely Christian, so I would say know who you are as a child of God. Therefore, what is expected of you? And then go to the next biblical thing with God. All, A-L-L, capital, all things are possible with God. So you start off there. So what you're really giving to the society is from the heart, not so much from the head, from the heart. from my heart to your heart. And I promise you, you will live a life that is extraordinarily effective and is not on the treadmill when you think you're moving forward, but you're moving but on the same spot. I just think with all the challenges of the world today, that it's an exciting time for young people. And finally to say to them, have a little empathy for the old people. Have a little empathy for the old people. Suffer them in silence. When we repeat ourselves, just understand that one day you may be just there if you are lucky enough to live to be 81.
Thank you so much, Beverly. I'm going